Hi, this is Seema and I will be bringing you a new lesson on common expressions in business. Well, a lot of you have probably finished with school and college and now you've started work. Some of you smart ones are also now started their own business. Well, in business and at your work environment, there are many times when you have to use expressions to speak with your colleagues, your friends, your work associates. Well, there is a way of saying thank you. There is a way of saying welcome. There is a way of expressing your gratitude. There is a way of expressing your happiness or your displeasure at certain things. That is why we need to know common expressions that we use when we are in a work environment. What are they? The first one is don't mention it. When do I use don't mention it? The actual expression, the actual meaning of this expression means you are welcome. So if someone has given me their pen to write with, I would say thank you. And what would they say? They would say don't mention it, meaning you are welcome. That's all right. Moving on to have a good trip. What does the expression have a good trip means? It is nothing but wishing either a friend or a colleague a safe trip or a safe journey while they are going maybe out of town or while they're just going, for a business meeting. So have a good trip is nothing but a way of saying have a good journey, have a safe trip. Moving on to glad to hear that. When do we use this expression? Well, if my business associate was doing very well in his business and he came up to me and said, I have got a business and now it is reaping a lot of benefit. It is making me a lot of profit. So I am genuinely very happy to hear that he is doing good because he is my business associate. So I say, I'm glad to hear that. So glad to hear that is an expression we use when we are happy, when we want to express happiness about something. So this is the expression you will use. So suppose someone comes up to you and says, I did very well. I passed with an A+. So you are really happy that he has, and you say, glad to hear that. So this is not only used in business, but also otherwise. The opposite of this is sorry to hear that. So when I am unhappy, so I express my unhappiness in a situation when I say I am sorry to hear that. So sometimes somebody could come up to me and say, I read through your book, but I did not really like it, or I do not completely agree with your opinions in the book. I would say, I'm sorry to hear that because I'm not very happy about what he just told me, or maybe I'm not in complete agreement with what he just mentioned to me. Moving on to go ahead. Well, go ahead literally means to go ahead, to actually move from one place to another. But in business expression, the meaning of go ahead is when I say yes to a question, or it is basically just an agreement. So this is also an agreement to something that has been requested of me. So if somebody comes up to me and says, I'm going for a business meeting, I need to borrow your car keys. If I want to say yes, I will say, go ahead. Meaning, yes, you can go ahead, take my car keys, go for your meeting. Okay? So go ahead is nothing but agreement or a yes to a simple question. Moving on to it's a deal. Well, this is a very common business terminology, a very common business expression which basically means that you have agreed. So it is basically an agreement to a decision in business. So, me and my business partner, we agreed to, split our profit in two parts. So I say we get so much of profit and we split that in two parts. Okay, 50%, and that's yours and 50 is mine. So he says it's a deal. So what he's really doing is he is agreeing to a business decision that we have, concluded upon. So that is where you use an expression like it's a deal. Moving on to here you are. Here you are is basically an expression we use when somebody requests or asks us for a thing. So you ask me for a pen and I give it to you and I say, here you are. Or if someone wants to borrow, my car keys. So I say, here you are. I give him my car keys. So when we give things that are asked of us, while we give it to those people, that's when we use the expression, here you are. Okay? So this is a very common expression, but don't take it for its literal meaning. It basically means that somebody's asked you something and you're giving it to them. What a pity. Well, what a pity is used when you are unhappy or you really feel sympathy for a person. So you want to express your sympathy. This expression is mostly used in cases when a person has strived to get something and at the last moment he came this close to getting it, but then he missed. So maybe, I have a business associate who tried to, launch his business in a particular area. He did a lot to do that. And he came really close to doing that, but because of some legal restrictions, because of other reasons, he just couldn't launch his business. So he came really close to something, but he couldn't. So I express my sympathy because maybe I'm a businesswoman too, and I feel sorry for him. So I say, what a pity you couldn't achieve what you tried to do. So what a pity is an expression when I'm unhappy, genuinely unhappy for something or someone, or I'm expressing sympathy in light of a person's situation. Moving on to that's a good point. Well, that's a good point as, it clearly shows is an agreement about someone's opinion. So two business partners are, making a business deal, or maybe they are just deciding that they are going to tap a certain market area because they feel the sales are going to be high in that particular area. And the other one says, that's a good point. So I say, let's tap this area. This is where we're going to do the maximum sales. And my friend agrees with me saying, that's a good point. So what is he doing? He is agreeing on my opinion. So that's a good point, means agreement on one's opinion. And moving on to the last one, which is, let's call it a day. Let's call it a day means nothing but telling someone that let's finish with a day's work. Let's finish with today's work. Let's wrap. Okay. So let's call it a day means let's finish with today's work or today's business. So, you work from 9 to 5 and maybe at 5 o'clock you're exhausted, you've done the best you could, and then you tell your boss or maybe your subordinates or maybe your friends that let's call it a day, I'm going home. Okay. Well, that brings me to the end of this lesson on common expressions in business English. Well, it's time to test what you've learned. To take the test, click onto the link in the description at the end of this video and check out your scores and you will know how much you've learned. Well, until then, I'll be back with a new video and some new teachings. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.